Hi there. Welcome. Thanks for joining me live. Just getting things set up here. It's Oxford Superhost. How are you? Hi, Tracy. Thanks for joining me this morning. Who else do we have with us? Say hello in the comments. Oxford, how are your bookings going? Do you have any new restrictions in your local area? Tracy, where are you hosting from? I just want to point out there's a tiny little lag between when I talk um, and when you guys hear me. So the comments are a little bit delayed. So Tracy's in Wisconsin. Oxford is doing super well. He doubled last year. Wow, congratulations. And he, where they are, there is no restrictions. So good for you. That might explain a little bit of why you're doing so well this year. Well, let's just give it another minute to see who else is going to join us live here this morning. And there's no restrictions in Wisconsin either. Wow. So, Tracy, how are your bookings going? All right. Well, it's a couple minutes after noon, and I said we would start at noon. So we'll get started here. I see just before I start, I see Tracy said that one house is doing good and the other not so good. Well, I'm sorry to hear that, Tracy. You might glean a few tips from my upcoming masterclass, and that's where I'll be going over the 3 hacks to earning more during the pandemic from your Airbnb. And the link to register is on the screen right now, and it's just going over to my website, www.airbnbuncovered.com/3 hacks. So let's get into today's live. This is the very first session of my quick hits series. So there's going to be 3 more quick hit live series between now and next Friday. And the quick hits are 30 minutes long, and they have a live training as a part of them. And then at the end, we do a Q&A with the time that we have left. And today we will be talking about the 5 must-haves in your Airbnb during COVID. And if you don't know me, I'm Matt, Airbnb superhost and the creator of AirbnbUncovered.com. I've hosted nearly 3,500 guests over the past 5.5, 6 years, and I have been a superhost since day one. I uncover some of the best kept hosting secrets to help new hosts earn more revenue, attract the best guests, and achieve superhost status faster. And as I mentioned a second ago, I just want to mention again that I do have a few sessions for my free upcoming masterclass on the 3 hacks to earning more from your Airbnb during the pandemic. The link to register, well, it's on the screen right now, airbnbuncovered.com/3 hacks. This training is going to be fantastic. And I'm going deeper in the training than I ever would on a YouTube video or in a live session. So it's a must attend. So I hope that Tracy and Oxford, you guys will sign up for the training, and I will see you very soon on one of those sessions. So let me just give you a lowdown of the format of today's live session. So I'm going to give you my 5 must-haves for your Airbnb during COVID. And then the quick training will be followed by a question and answer session. So let's get right into it. Let's get into my top 5 list of must-have items in your Airbnb. Coming in at number 5 is a welcome binder. Now, I cheated a little bit with this one because I think you should always have a welcome binder in your Airbnb. And the reason I think that is because it's one of the most commented items in my reviews. Guests rave about the welcome binder. So what should you put in the welcome binder? There are 5 things. The first is a welcome letter from you that outlines, it outlines, but it basically welcomes them to your home. And then it most importantly tells guests how to reach you and if there are any specific things that they need to know. Then you want to follow this up with a house guide section, and it can be the exact same house guide that you have posted to your Airbnb listing. Then I do house rules, and again, they're the same that are posted on my listing. And then finally, not finally, because that's only 4. The next thing I do is I leave checkout instructions as well as any access instructions. So I operate in a few condo buildings, so I explain how the FUB readers work and how you lock and unlock the doors to the building and so on and so forth. And then the 5th and final section of my welcome binder is my recommendations guide. So that is actually just a printed copy of my guidebook from my Airbnb listing. Quickly, if you don't know what a guidebook is, it is a part of your listing where you go in and identify all of the key attractions that you recommend that your guests go to visit, as well as restaurants and other important or interesting places, recommendations that you think your guests should go and visit and see and taste while they are in your city. Number 4 on the list is a workspace. And this is because of the rise of a new kind of guest who are booking on Airbnb. And this new kind of guests are called workation guests. Quickly, workation guests are guests who are able to work from home, but they don't necessarily have to work from their own home. So they are now seeking out new places to go and experience and explore where they can work from. So, as you can imagine, if you are traveling and you need to work from home during the day, then you're obviously going to need a workspace, and that's number 4. So the ideal is a desk and a comfortable task chair, but maybe you don't have the space for that. So one option would be just to get a task chair that you can use at the dining table or at the kitchen island. And if that isn't an option for you, then you could look at getting one of those lap desks, which is basically just a solid surface with some cushioning underneath it. And you put it on your lap and you put your laptop on that. And another option is to get one of those adjustable side tables that you can use. So if you're sitting on a couch, you bring the side table up, you set it to your right level, and then you sit on the couch and work on your laptop. Coming in at number 3 is the streaming capability for your TV. So because in many areas, although not in Wisconsin or wherever Oxford is hosting, there are lockdown measures, and your guests won't be able to go out and experience as many things as they normally would in your local area. I'm sure they can still go out and experience some of the nature, but as far as often going to bars or theater events or sporting events, those are mainly canceled. And so that means your guests are going to be spending a lot more time inside your home. And so you want to give them something to do. And the number one thing people are doing these days is streaming Netflix or HBO Go or Disney Plus. And so you want to make sure that you have some kind of capability so that your guests can do that. Number two on the list is high-speed internet. And it makes sense if you're going to have streaming services, then you need to be able to have an internet speed that is capable of streaming those. Your internet speed also has to be fast enough to facilitate Zoom calls and other streaming. And again, the reason for that is because we're seeing a lot of guests who are traveling and working from wherever they're traveling to. So those workation guests need high-speed internet. And number one, we are at the end of our list already. Number one is something that I'm calling a COVID welcome basket. So if you imagine back before COVID, many hosts used to provide a welcome basket with snacks and drinks and other welcoming items for a guest who is probably arriving after a long day of travel. So now, instead of that, or in addition to that, if you want, I now include a COVID welcome basket, and that welcome basket includes disinfecting wipes, disinfecting spray, a small thing of hand sanitizer, gloves, and a few masks, so that your guests can be ultimately prepared for the pandemic without having to run around if they've just landed or just arrived to find all those items. You have them right there for them. Now, this comes in at number one because some of the items in the welcome basket, the disinfecting agents and the hand sanitizer, they are now a requirement from Airbnb for all hosts. And there are actually 3 other mandatory new items that you need to have during the pandemic to be able to still be able to host. And that is paper towel. What is that? The other 2. Paper towel, extra hand soap, and a multi-purpose cleaner. So those are the things that you must now have in your Airbnb in order to remain compliant. Let's see, what else did I want to tell you? Oh, I want to just give you a quick wrap up of the top 5 list. So the first is a welcome binder. The second is a workspace. The third is high-speed internet. The fourth is streaming capability. And the fifth is a COVID welcome basket. And that is the formal part of our training. So we did about 10 minutes of training, and we're going to start the Q&A. So maybe start putting your questions into the comments so that we can get into them. And before I start answering them, I want to remind you about about my free upcoming masterclass on 3 hacks to earning more from your Airbnb during the pandemic. I'll be showing you exactly how I'm earning more from my listings during the pandemic, and I'll be going deeper than I ever normally do on my YouTube channel or in any of these live sessions. So I'm really dishing it out in this free masterclass. You can register for the masterclass by going to airbnbuncovered.com/3 hacks. So I hope to see you sometime soon. There are 3 more upcoming sessions of the masterclass. One of them is tomorrow at 1 Eastern, and then the other 2 are Tuesday and Wednesday, I think. No, Tuesday and Thursday. So hopefully one of those times will work for you. All right, let's see what we have for questions. So Oxford said his guests this month are people moving to Oxford and booking with me while they wait to close on their homes. Yeah, that makes sense. So people moving or relocating. I've definitely heard of a lot of people using Airbnb during this time, during the pandemic, because there's a lot of movement going around. There are people from big cities who are been told that they can work from home indefinitely, and there is no restriction on where their home is. So they're kind of thinking to themselves, well, why would I stay in a big city and pay exorbitant amounts of rent or have a high housing cost? I'm going to go and find a beautiful little town like Oxford, or move somewhere else. And so that has created another category of guests, and those are people who are relocating, and they need temporary accommodation while they're looking for a home, as well as when they're waiting for their home to close. Tracy is a great suggestion. So in the top five, I was mentioning that hosts don't have, or guests don't have a lot to do with so many things closed. And she said that she put in a game room in the house. And that she's hoping it will help. So I think it will help too. Definitely take some pictures of that gaming room and be sure you highlight it in your description so that guests know all about the fun things that they can do in your home. Tracy also mentioned that she had a demand for TV. So when I was talking about streaming services, I think is when you commented on this one. So people were asking for TVs in every bedroom. So you added them. That's a great idea. And with the availability of low cost TV screens these days, it's kind of a no brainer. Costco is a great place to get them, Best Buy. And because they're bedroom TVs, they don't have to be super, super high quality. In fact, the TV behind me is a Costco special, a couple $100. It's not that big, but it serves the purpose. So what else do you guys have for questions for me? Tracy's saying that the games room has definitely been helping. I am not surprised by that whatsoever. So she is going to add it to the house that's not doing as well. Tracy, I think you will like the 3 Hacks webinar because I do talk about ways to attract more bookings. So absolutely, I think you could get some benefit by tuning into the 3 Hacks webinar. Oxford, you're strangely quiet this morning or this afternoon, depending where you are. Tracy wants to know how many short-term rentals I have. Currently, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 on the go. There is a new bylaw in Toronto, so that has changed things a little bit. Some of the hosts weren't super keen to continue to operate within the bylaw, so lost a couple, and the pandemic isn't exactly the greatest time to be picking up more. But at my high, I had 10, and so down to 6. Oh, Tracy, I'm glad to see that you'll be joining us on the 3 Hacks Masterclass. Oxford says being pet friendly is super helping me. Of course it is. If you go back to the video I did, I think it's on workation guests. One of the things that I talk about is being pet friendly in that video. And because these workation guests, so these are people who can work from home, i.e. they can work from anywhere as long as the internet's good and they have a workstation that they can spend 8 hours a day sitting at. But since they're moving for so long, they're going to bring their pets. And so having availability of or being pet friendly definitely appeals to those types of travelers. Tracy is asking if I only co-host. No, I do not. I have 2 of my own listings that I do Airbnb in, and that one before the pandemic, I had 4 of my own. Oxford is making good use of the stimulus money to reinvest in his business. So he's buying a new bed and a new front door. Good for you. Absolutely. Tracy is mentioning, I'd love to be pet friendly, but Airbnb doesn't pay for any pet damages. Tracy, can you elaborate on that? Where did you see that they don't pay for pet damages? That's something new for me. In fact, years ago, how many years ago was that? 3 years ago, I think. I did have a guest who brought an unauthorized pet, and the pet peed on my couch, which is how I found out there was a pet in my not pet friendly Airbnb. And Airbnb did cover the cost of it. Oxford is saying he gets free furniture. Oxford, where do you get free furniture from? Oh, Tracy, you say it's in the terms of service. Interesting. I have gone through those terms of service in detail, but not When did I do that? Maybe 6 months ago? I'm not sure there was a big revision, but I will definitely check it out. Oxford, you still have to tell us where you get free furniture from. Is it Kijiji and Craigslist, that kind of thing? Yes, that is it. Look at the pet section, Tracy says. Okay, I will definitely do that. And you know what? That must be a new part because I don't remember a pet section ever being there. Um, so it must be new. And perhaps in response to all of these workation guests who are traveling with pets. But that's a real shame that they don't cover pets. It's annoying. That sucks, really. Oh, Oxford uses Facebook Marketplace. Yeah, 100%. There's definitely things on the Facebook Marketplace. And I've used it for sure. I have definitely filled some of my Airbnbs with secondhand sofas. And if you look around, you can find some stylish items on Marketplace or on Kijiji or Craigslist. You just need to be able to get it from one place to the other. And you use free beds too. I'm not sure I would do that one because of the bed bug thing, but I mean, you can see bed bugs if you look really closely and to see if there are any. I mean, you can also kind of look and see where the mattress is from and who the people are. Oh, you will not use beds. Okay, I thought so. Especially considering that if you go to a discount furniture store, you can get even a pocket coil mattress these days for $300 or $400. So it just go new. I'm curious, how many of you already had one of the 5 must-haves? So they are welcome binder, workspace. Goodness, my mind is drawing a blank. Streaming capability, high-speed internet, and the COVID basket. How many, Tracy, Oxford, did you guys have? Did you guys already have those things? Oh, the lag. Sometimes it kills us. Tracy said she had 3 of them, so that's good. What were they? What were they? And Oxford, you had all of them. I'm not surprised. So, Vontae, welcome. Thanks for joining us. Can I list my top 5 again? Sure, I can. So, coming in at number 5 is a welcome binder. And in the welcome binder, you put 5 things in it. So, a welcome letter to your guests. You put in your house guide, and it's the same one from your Airbnb listing. You put your house rules in, which is again the same from the listing. You offer checkout instructions, and then the 5th section is you put in your recommendations, which is your guidebook from Airbnb. So you print your guidebook from Airbnb and put all that stuff in a binder, and your guests will rave about it because mine certainly have. Number 4 on the list is to have a workspace in your home. So we are seeing now tons of guests who are traveling while they're working from home. So they're called workation guests. So they have the ability to work from home, and they have figured out that it doesn't have to be their own home that they work from. So they are now moving for a month, a few weeks, 2 months, 3 months to a new place to experience a change of scenery and a new town. And these guests demand a workspace. And they also demand what is hack number 3. They demand a streaming service because while they're working and things aren't open like they used to be, there are no events, there aren't just theater and those types of things, bars, restaurants, depending where you are. These guests want, and all guests really want, the capability to stream Netflix and Disney Plus and HBO Go on TVs. So you need to either have a smart TV or some kind of device, a Roku or Apple TV or whatever, to enable streaming. which then brings us to the number two item on the list, and that is high-speed internet. So if you offer streaming capabilities, then you have to be able to stream them with ease. Tons of guests now, especially those workation guests, are also attending Zoom meetings, and so they need to have buffer-free Zoom calls. So high-speed internet is of prime importance. What is high-speed internet? I think it's anything above 100 megabits per second, ideally a couple hundred, because then your guests won't be complaining whatsoever. And the number one must-have is to have a COVID welcome basket. And a COVID welcome basket comprises of disinfecting wipes, disinfecting spray, hand sanitizer, a few disposable masks, a few pairs of disposable gloves. And so that just lets your guests know that you are COVID friendly, you're reducing the spread, and you want to keep them safe. Oxford wants to know how much profit I made from 2020. Oxford, that is a personal question, and one that I haven't calculated yet, because we're still getting bills and invoices in from 2020. So I don't have the number just yet. Tracy has no COVID basket. Tracy, that's super inexpensive to do. Most guests aren't using the entire tubs of disinfecting wipes or the spray. I've had, they usually stay 3-4 guests. I had stocked up initially with a couple packs from Costco, and I thought that I would run through all of it really fast, but I haven't. So, $20, and you've got yourself a COVID welcome basket. Vontae wants to know if people get upset if you only have basic streaming Netflix and Hulu and not the big ones like HBO. I don't have HBO either in my places, and no one has ever mentioned one way or the other that it wasn't there. The idea here is really to have the capability to do it, because most guests who have those streaming services are going to log in using their own login credentials so that they can get their own wish lists and the recommendations and all those things. So generally, guests aren't using your subscription to those things. They're using their own. The big thing is really about capability. And thank you for that question. Thanks for everybody for all these questions. Oxford wants me to reveal my earnings. My profits. Oxford, what was your profit? I didn't catch your channel. I can maybe tell you if I'm in 10x. Sharon wants to know how to get properties without owning one. That is something called rental arbitrage, and it's something that I've done in the past. You essentially need to approach landlords to do rental arbitrage. You need to approach landlords and get their permission to run an Airbnb inside their unit. And so the best way to do that is to approach multiple landlords and give them a compelling reason why they should trust you to run an Airbnb in their house. Jackie, what are the top appliances you have in my Airbnb? By appliances, do you mean like fridges and stoves? Or you mean TVs? Can you just be a little bit more specific? Appliances is a bit vague. So Oxford is going to reveal it by month. Is going to reveal his profit by month. Sorry, I got distracted in the comments. Tracy wants to know if I liked rental arbitrage. Yeah, it worked. It was good. It's the same as running your own Airbnb in your own property. The big challenge is finding landlords who are willing to do Airbnb with you. One of the challenges here in Toronto is due to the new short-term rentals regulations. They have effectively made it illegal to do arbitrage here, more or less. And so that certainly killed that business. Tracy says she almost did it, but she backed out last minute. Tracy, why did you back out? Oxford says arbitrage is risky. It is risky because you do have to continue to make your rent payments, even if you haven't made any money. To be honest, I prefer to do co-hosting over arbitrage because the risk on me is lower because it's a profit share a revenue share rather than a fixed monthly commitment. And so if you have a solid record as a host, then you can often attract co-hosts other hosts who want somebody to run their Airbnb for them and split the revenue. Oxford, you have a fan. Tracy says you need to post more videos. So Tracy says she backed out because it's lower cost to buy than rent. That could be true for your market. It's not true in all markets. For instance, in Toronto, where one bedroom condos are going for half to $750,000. So sometimes you can get rents that are lower than the cost of buying, especially if the owners have owned the condos for a long time and they have a low cost of borrowing. So Jackie wants to know about Keurigs and air fryers. Okay, those kinds of appliances. All right, so I have a toaster. There's always a microwave, always a Keurig, a kettle, a TV, hair dryer. That's not really an appliance, but I don't go crazy filling with air fryers or waffle makers or any of those specialty things. One thing that I do provide sometimes is a blender. Now you have to be careful with blenders because I did a test a couple summers ago and the units that had blenders were all much more dirty because for some reason guests don't know how to use a blender when they're not at home. And there was, blender gick all over the backsplash. A good way around that is to use a bullet, which are just those small blenders that you put on and then you twist and they turn, so they can't run while the cover's not on. So I hope that answers your question, Jackie. Just the basic stuff. And so coffee maker, kettle, coffee maker, kettle, microwave if your place doesn't have a built-in one. So Tracy is giving us the example of the arbitrage that she was looking at. So she was going to rent a place for $900 a month, but purchase and my mortgage is only $514 a month. Yeah. So in some cases, yeah, it definitely is cheaper to own depending on the amount of your initial investment and what your mortgage is. So 100% agree. Run the numbers first. Tracy is agreeing with me. Keurig and some pods to start. Yeah, absolutely. I put maybe half a dozen to 10 pods in my units. If you leave the entire box, some guests will just clean you out. And it's not that the expense is the real problem. It's the having to restock and going back to Costco to get more pods. So the quick hits are 30 minutes. We are at 12:33. Let's call this one a wrap at 12:35. So in a couple minutes. So if you have any more questions, put them in the comments. And of course, there's a lag, so the comments don't come in right away. But I will be here for a couple more minutes. Sharon wants to know what is the best place to shop. So I'm in Canada, but I've been to Target. Target's a great spot. I like HomeSense, which I think is called TJ Maxx in the US. Costco is a great place to get things. Occasionally I do Walmart, but sometimes the issue with Walmart is quality. So you are looking for inexpensive items, but inexpensive quality items that you're not going to have to replace all the time. Remember that guests are they're harder on things for whatever reason. Like I said, guests are using blenders without the covers firmly on and it's flying all over the place. Would they do that at their own home? Probably not. Why do they do it in my home? I'm not sure. Tracy says she'd love to do some co-hosting with an owner of a luxury property. Tracy, I do co-host in a luxury property, and it's not a completely different ballgame, but it's a different ballgame. So I co-host a $3.5 million, 3,500 square foot penthouse condo here in Toronto, and it's a bit different. Some of the guests need more hand holding, and it involves more time, especially when you're dealing with guests who are, seems like the guests who are all famous. So we've had an NHLer, he was a bit of work. We've had a movie star, she was pretty good. We've had a director, he's okay. But typically our corporate clients, our high-end corporate clients, seem to be the least intense. Jackie says she started calling around yesterday. Is there a certain word or words I should use for rental arbitrage? I should put in the apartment in my name or the business name? Jackie, so I don't talk a lot about arbitrage because, as Oxford says, it can be risky. And I generally kind of opposed to the get rich quick schemes through arbitrage. So arbitrage is not a way to become a millionaire overnight. Just want to make sure that we're clear about that. It is a way that you can build a reputation as a solid host. Without question, getting a landlord to agree to let you run an Airbnb in their place is difficult. So for me, it's a little bit easier because I have a solid track record of 3,500 guests, or at the time it was probably 2,500 guests with very little damage, practically no parties. I have party prevention measures in place. So for me, my proposition is more of a property management, enhanced property selling proposition rather than an arbitrage. Is there a specific word? No, I think you need to gain a landlord's trust, you need to really sell yourself and talk to them before you put an application in. Because my guess, especially as a landlord myself, if someone came to me and said, I want to rent this and do an Airbnb, I'd be like, no, unless you're extremely good at it. What percentage do I charge for co-hosting? Between 15 and 25% is the industry standard across, some as low as 10, not usually ever higher than 25% is the standard sharing. Jackie wants to know, what's the best way to start Airbnb? I want to start, but what should I do? I'm new to this. Well, I mean, you're absolutely correct, Jackie. You need a place to start doing Airbnb, perhaps in your own home, and finding a place to stay outside of that. So when I started way back when, I live in Toronto, as most of you know, and I live in a desirable location. I just lost my corporate job, so I used to rent out Airbnb in my space when I was not there, and it was profitable. So I started staying with my sister, who lived not far from here, and so on the weekends I would often go stay with her, which is something I was doing anyway, maybe just not overnight. And I slowly built up my business from there. Give it another minute or so, and then we will have to call this quick hit session to a close. I want to remind you that I am offering a free masterclass where I'm going way deeper than I ever go during a live session or on a YouTube video. And it's on the 3 hacks to earning more during the pandemic. You can register by going to airbnbuncovered.com/3 hacks. And I hope that you can see me there. There are 3 more sessions, one tomorrow, one on, I want to say Tuesday, and one on Thursday. But if you go to airbnbuncovered.com/3 hacks, all the dates and times are in the registration link. Well, thank you, Jackie. I'm happy to have you following my videos on YouTube. You can also check out another host who's on here, Oxford Superhost. He has a YouTube channel and he provides a slightly different slant on how to do Airbnbs, but he's got some good information there. None of these get rich quick schemes from Oxford, which I truly appreciate. And Jackie, feel free to sign up for the webinar, and you'll get some insider tips and tricks on what life is like being a host, a super host during the pandemic. All right. Well, thank you all so much for joining me here this afternoon or this morning, depending where you are. I will be doing another quick hit training session just like this one on Monday. So tune in for that. And you can also sign up for the free masterclass on 3 hacks to earning more during the pandemic. Just head on over to my website, airbnbuncovered.com/3 hacks. Thank you all, and I hope to see you again.